Now, starting in West Africa, let's look at Nigeria, where a federal high court in the country's capital, Abuja, has ordered the disclosure of the spending details of about $5 billion Abacha recovery funds by the government of former presidents Olusegun Obasanjo, Umaru Musa Yar'Adua, Goodluck Jonathan, and Muhammadu Buhari. The judgment comes after a Freedom of Information suit was brought before the court by the Socio-Economic Rights and Accountability Project, SERAP. Dismissing the objections advanced by the government, the justice held, among others, that SERAP is entitled to the information on the spending details of about $5 billion Abacha money and need not show any special interest in the information sought. And now to further discuss this, I am joined by political and public affairs commentator Otunba Olabode Osenie. Thank you so much for joining us on the news, Otunba.
Thank you very much, Blessing, for having me.
It's a pleasure. Now, Otunba, talking about the $5 billion Abacha loot, what do we say is the significance of the court order for the former presidents Obasanjo, Yar'Adua, and Buhari to account for the money?
Let's start by saying that at least where this judiciary happened to be one of the main arms of governance, and it's always the last place where you can go to get justice for injustice. In this case, talking about the case of Abacha loot, unfortunately, so it's a good thing that SERAP went to court wanted to get explanation as how the almost 5-point-something billion naira was been collected or recovered have been spent so far. And the only place where you can get order to for kind of explanation is the judiciary. So far, so good, but unfortunately, it's come to a kind of one can conclude that it's inconsequential because most of the presidents we are talking about, they are no more in power. But then the other good thing is that law can still be extended to them. Former president or former this and former that can still be asked to come and give accounts. If you look at what happened in America, the former president, the former this, anybody can be recalled in any jurisdiction, in any case, in any whatever happened, even if they don't know about it when they were in power. So that it's a good thing that the judiciary of Nigeria have now, the SERAP have gone to court and said, listen, Nigerians are entitled to know what is going on. And there's no excuse. The only one that can say will not be available will be the late President Yar'Adua. Obasanjo is still very much alive. Jonathan is still there. And President Buhari is also still available. They should be made to come to account what happened to the money recovered, whether it has been judiciously, prudently expended. They should show proof that what they know about it. So that's my initial reaction.
Okay, and of course, we're still waiting to see that they follow through with it. But in the meantime, what do we say about SERAP now going to court to ask that this money be accounted for? How does this translate to accountability and transparency in Nigeria's previous administration? Do we say that in that sector there's improvement, or do we say that this is just a front?
Like I said, the third arm of government is judiciary. Judiciary, you said, is the last hope of ordinary man. And judiciary, when they make their pronouncement, when courts under judiciary make pronouncements, in most cases, some of their pronouncements can be challenged. But the way things are now, the court order is compelling. You cannot run away from the fact that X amount of money were recovered, and there is also need for to show accountability for such amount of money that have been recovered, what has been used for, and then also get the ministry to come forward to come and explain. So it's very, very significant that, at least, like I said, very, very important that the court the judiciary will always remain judiciary, the court will always remain court, and their judgment will always be judgments that the ordinary person can say, oh, thank God, at least court have pronounced, made a judgment or made a pronouncement, and that has to be followed. And having said that, most of the court pronouncement can be appealed. We had that before many years back when at the tribunal, when one of the former presidents we are talking about refused to give evidence. And I think those days have gone. You know, things like that should never be allowed to happen again. When court make pronouncement and say you need to come on account, there shouldn't be any excuse for that. So I look forward to how the whole process is going to be unfolded.
All right, looking at how these three former presidents, I mean, of course, excluding the late Yar'Adua, have been subpoenaed to account for this money, are we expecting any kind of obstacle in the process?
That's what I just said. You know, I don't foresee any obstacle, and that's why I try to allude to what happened to Okuta panel when I think one of these presidents refused to wanted to give evidence. That shouldn't be allowed this time. And if that happens, I think SERAP is still there. There are many other pressure groups that can go back to court and say, no, that's not going to be acceptable. So the order is order. But again, we also need to be very mindful that it depends on how much premium the current government also is willing to put on it to support pronouncement or judgment of the court. That is also very, very. We don't want to have a situation where which Yoruba people say, I'm sure some of us, some of our listeners might not, we say it's the thief it and the thief took it. Olegba. So really and honestly, like I said, any pronouncement of court can be appealed, can say, well, you can't do that. But this time around, with the large number of pressure groups, I think if anybody try to want to escape the not judgment yet, but want to escape the asking for accountability of stewardship of their offices, and they want to resist that, I think the court will still have a lot to do. But so far, so good, because I think it's a very fresh judgment, and we look for that for their cooperation. In fact, it's also in their own names, you know, in their own groups, for their own benefit. They should not try to avoid wanting to let the world, let Nigerians know what happened to these recoveries.
All right, political and public affairs commentator Otunba Olabode Osenie, thank you so much for joining us on the news.
Thank you very much, Blessings.
It's a pleasure.